The morning started like any other for Hyunwoo. He woke up in his small apartment in Seoul, made coffee, and prepared for another day at the terraforming laboratory. At 28 years old, his life revolved around work. He loved his job, loved the challenge of making dead planets livable. It was the only thing that made sense to him since his parents died in a terraforming accident 10 years ago. He was checking data on his computer when his doorbell rang. Strange. He never got visitors. When he opened the door, 2 officials in Galactic Union uniforms stood there. Their faces were serious. "Kim Hyunwoo?" the woman asked. "Yes, that's me. We need you to come with us. It's a matter of union law." His heart dropped. What had he done? He followed them to a government building downtown, his mind racing through possibilities. Had he made a mistake in his work? Was someone hurt because of his calculations? They led him to a small office. A tired-looking government official sat behind a desk covered in papers. The man gestured for Hyunwoo to sit. "Mr. Kim, you've been selected for the Genetic Diversity Exchange Program." Hyunwoo blinked. "The what?" "It's part of Earth's treaty with the Galactic Union. To strengthen bonds between species, we must provide candidates for arranged marriages with alien species. You were selected through the lottery system." The words hit him like a physical blow. "Marriage? To an alien? That's insane. I never agreed to any lottery. All citizens between 25 and 35 were automatically entered when Earth joined the Union 50 years ago. It's in the citizenship agreement your parents signed when you were born." "My parents are dead," Hyunwoo said flatly. "And I'm not doing this. Find someone else." The official's expression grew harder. "Refusal carries severe penalties, Mr. Kim. Your family members will lose all union benefits. Your sister Ji-won is set to attend university next year on a union scholarship, correct?" Hyunwoo's blood ran cold. Ji-won, his brilliant little sister who dreamed of becoming a doctor. The scholarship was the only way she could afford it. Their parents' death had left them with almost nothing. "You can't do this," he whispered. Furthermore, refusal would damage Earth's standing in the Union. Other families would face similar consequences. "The treaty is clear." Hyunwoo sat in silence. Anger burned in his chest, hot and helpless. They had him trapped. He could ruin his own life, but he couldn't destroy Ji-won's future. He couldn't hurt other families who depended on the Union's support. "Who am I supposed to marry?" he finally asked. "A member of the Valerian species. They're one of Earth's key allies. This union will help secure a trade agreement for terraforming technology. So I'm being sold for business deals." "That's not how we'd phrase it, Mr. Kim. How would you phrase it then?" Hyunwoo's voice was bitter. The official had no answer. He simply pushed papers across the desk. "You'll need to sign these. Transport leaves in 3 days. You'll travel to Unity Station for the ceremony." Hyunwoo's hand shook as he signed. Each signature felt like giving away a piece of himself. When he finished, the officials gave him information packets about Valerians and told him to prepare. They said it like he was going on a vacation, not having his life stolen. That night he couldn't sleep. He sat in his apartment staring at the ceiling, thinking about what awaited him. He'd seen pictures of aliens before, of course. The Galactic Union had dozens of member species. Some looked almost human. Others were completely different. He had no idea what Valerians looked like. The information packets weren't helpful. They contained basic facts about Valerian culture and biology, but no pictures. It was like they wanted to keep him in suspense. He read that Valerians valued honor and duty above all else. They had strict social protocols. They were scientifically advanced, particularly in biological sciences. None of it told him what really mattered. What would his wife look like? Would they be able to communicate? Could humans and Valerians even live together safely? The next day he told Ji-won. She cried when she heard. She offered to give up her scholarship, but he refused. One of them should have a future. She hugged him tightly and promised to message him every day, no matter where he ended up. His last day on Earth felt surreal. He packed his belongings, not knowing what he'd need. Clothes, books, his favorite coffee mug. How did you pack for a life you never wanted? His co-workers threw him a quiet goodbye party at the lab. They didn't know what to say. Neither did he. "Maybe it won't be so bad," his friend Tae-yang offered. Tae-yang worked for Union security and had seen many alien species. "Valerians are supposed to be peaceful, civilized." "They're still forcing me to marry a complete stranger," Hyunwoo replied. "Someone who isn't even human. I know. It's wrong, but maybe you can make the best of it." Hyunwoo didn't answer. He didn't see how. The transport ship was massive, designed to carry passengers between Earth and various Union stations. Hyunwoo boarded with a dozen other humans, all selected for the same program. Some looked excited. Most looked terrified. One woman was crying. He found his cabin and locked the door. Through the window, he watched Earth shrink away. The planet where he was born, where his parents were buried, where Ji-won would live her life without him. He pressed his hand against the glass, feeling the cold surface. The journey to Unity Station would take 5 days. 5 days to prepare himself for a future he never chose. 5 days until he met the alien who would be his wife. The thought made him sick. He tried to imagine what she would be like. Would she be angry too? Or was this normal for her people? Maybe Valerians didn't care about love or choice. Maybe they saw marriage as just another duty, another contract to fulfill. The worst part was not knowing. He'd built his whole life on understanding things, on solving problems with logic and reason. But this problem had no solution. He was trapped, and there was nothing his intelligence or skills could do about it. As the ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, stars stretching into lines outside his window, Hyunwoo made himself a promise. He would go through with this marriage because he had to. He would protect Ji-won's future and do his duty to Earth, but he would never forgive the people who did this to him. And he would never pretend to love some alien creature just because a government told him to. His wife, whoever she was, would just have to accept that. This marriage would be legal, but it would never be real. He'd make sure she understood that from the beginning. The stars blurred past, carrying him toward Unity Station and a future he didn't want. Unity Station hung in space like a massive metal flower, its petals the docking arms for ships from 100 worlds. Hyunwoo watched it grow larger through his cabin window, his stomach tight with anxiety. 5 days of travel had done nothing to calm his anger or fear. If anything, he felt worse. The other humans on the ship had tried to be friendly, but he'd kept to himself. What was there to talk about? They were all prisoners of the same system, all heading toward the same fate. Sharing misery didn't make it lighter. The ship docked with a soft thud. Announcements in multiple languages instructed passengers to gather their belongings and proceed to customs. Hyunwoo grabbed his single bag and joined the line of humans shuffling toward the exit. Unity Station's interior was enormous. The docking area alone could have held 10 Earth buildings. Aliens of every description moved through the crowds. Some walked on 2 legs like humans. Others floated or crawled or moved in ways that hurt to watch. The air smelled strange, a mixture of 1,000 different atmospheres filtered and blended. Kim Hyunwoo, a translator device, made the words sound mechanical. He turned to find a small blue alien with 4 arms holding a data pad. "Yes, follow me, please. Your appointment is scheduled." "Appointment," Hyunwoo muttered, like he was seeing a doctor, not meeting his forced bride. The alien led him through corridors that seemed to go on forever. They passed market areas where beings traded goods he couldn't identify. They crossed bridges over spaces so vast he couldn't see the other side. Unity Station wasn't just big, it was its own world. Finally, they reached a quieter section. The hallway here had doors marked with different symbols. The alien stopped at one. "Wait inside. Your partner will arrive shortly." Then it left before Hyunwoo could ask any questions. He pushed open the door. The room beyond was designed as a meeting space, neutral and bland. Chairs that could accommodate different body types, soft lighting, a window showing the stars outside. It felt like a doctor's waiting room, sterile and impersonal. Hyunwoo sat down, his leg bouncing with nervous energy. What would she look like? His mind had created a dozen possibilities over the past 5 days, each worse than the last. Scales, tentacles, multiple heads, eyes in strange places. He told himself it didn't matter. Beauty was human anyway. He couldn't expect an alien to match human standards. But part of him hoped she would at least be something he could look at without flinching. The door opened. Hyunwoo stood up automatically, his heart hammering, and then he froze. The woman who entered was the most beautiful being he had ever seen. She was humanoid in shape, which was his first shock. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. But there the similarity to humans ended and something else began. Her skin was silver, not painted or covered, but naturally silver, and it seemed to glow from within like moonlight. Her hair was the same silver color, long and flowing, and it moved as if she was underwater even though the air was still. Her eyes were large and almond-shaped, and they were violet. deep rich violet like earth flowers, and as he stared, the color shifted slightly, swirling like liquid. She wore robes that looked formal, ceremonial in shades of white and silver. She was tall, almost his height. Her features were delicate but not fragile. She moved with incredible grace, like a dancer, every step purposeful. Hyunwoo realized he was staring with his mouth open. He closed it quickly, feeling his face heat with embarrassment. She stared back at him and her eyes shifted color again. The violet became darker, tinged with blue. Was that emotion? He had no idea. "You're human," she said. Her voice was soft but clear, and she spoke perfect Korean. "Yes," he managed. His own voice sounded rough. "You're Valerian." "Yes." She stood near the door, not coming closer. "I'm called Nari, Hyunwoo, Kim Hyunwoo." Silence stretched between them. Hyunwoo's mind was reeling. She was beautiful. Alien, yes, completely alien, but beautiful in a way that transcended species. He hadn't expected this. Hadn't prepared for this. All his anger and resentment suddenly had nowhere to go. "You're surprised," Nari said. "It wasn't a question. Yes, I didn't know Valerians looked human." Her eyes shifted again, this time to a lighter shade. "We're not human, but our species developed along similar paths. Bilateral symmetry, bipedal. It happens sometimes in the galaxy." "You speak Korean well." "I learned when I discovered I was being married to a human." It seemed polite. She paused. "You're not what I expected either." "What did you expect?" "The information we received about humans was unflattering. We were told your species was primitive, aggressive, that you'd only recently achieved space travel." Her eyes met his directly. "They made you sound like barbarians." Hyunwoo felt a flash of anger, but not at her. At whoever had given her that information. "We're not barbarians." "I can see that now." She finally moved away from the door, taking a few steps into the room. "You were forced into this too, weren't you?" The question caught him off guard. "How did you know?" "Because I was forced as well." Her voice was bitter. "My family has political obligations. When the trade agreement with Earth needed to be sealed, I was chosen to be the symbol of unity between our peoples. I had no choice." Something in Hyunwoo's chest loosened. She understood. She was trapped the same way he was. "I was selected in a lottery. They told me if I refused, my sister would lose her university scholarship. Other families would be punished. And you couldn't let that happen." "No." Nari looked away, toward the window and the stars beyond. The light caught her silver skin, making her glow brighter. "I had someone on my homeworld, someone I cared for. We'd been together for 3 years. When I told him about the marriage, he said he'd wait for me, but we both know that's a lie. This marriage is permanent." "I'm sorry," Hyunwoo said, and meant it. "Are you?" She looked back at him. "You've lost your freedom too. I never had anyone. My work was my life, but I still lost the right to choose my own future." They stood in silence again, but it felt different now. Not awkward, but shared. Two prisoners acknowledging their chains. "I was told to expect something monstrous," Hyunwoo admitted. "I'm sorry. That's wrong of me. I was told to expect a brute." Nari's expression softened slightly. "We were both lied to. Maybe that's the only truth in this whole situation." A small sound came from Nari. It might have been a laugh. "Perhaps you're right." The door opened again and an official entered. This one was clearly human, dressed in Galactic Union formal wear. "Are we ready for the ceremony?" Hyunwoo looked at Nari. She looked back at him. For a moment he thought about refusing, about walking out. But where would he go? What would happen to Jiwon? Nari seemed to have the same thought process. Her shoulders dropped slightly in resignation. "Yes," they said at the same time. The ceremony was cold and bureaucratic. They stood before a union official who read legal text in multiple languages. They signed documents on datapads. The official pronounced them married under galactic law. There were no rings, no kiss, no celebration. It was a contract signing with witnesses, nothing more. When it was over, the official handed them keys to their assigned quarters. "You have 6 months of mandatory integration. After that, you may apply for separate residences if desired. Congratulations." The word congratulations felt like mockery. They were led to their new home, an apartment in the residential section of Unity Station. The door closed behind them and they stood in the main room, two strangers bound by law. "I don't expect anything from you," Hyunwoo said finally. We're married legally, but that doesn't mean we have to pretend. Nari nodded slowly. Agreed. We'll share this space because we must. But we're both victims here. Not partners. Yes. But even as he said it, Hyunwoo couldn't stop thinking about how the light caught her silver hair, how her eyes had shifted colors with her emotions, how she'd defended him without even knowing him, just because someone had called his species brutal. This was going to be much more complicated than he'd thought. The apartment was designed for multiple species, which meant it satisfied no one completely. The main living area was spacious but generic. 2 bedrooms branched off opposite sides. The kitchen had equipment Hyunwoo didn't recognize. Everything was functional and cold. I'll take this room, Nari said, gesturing to the one on the left. Fine. Hyunwoo took his bag to the right bedroom. He unpacked in silence. The room had a bed, a desk, storage units. A window showed more of Unity Station's interior. Levels upon levels of civilization stacked vertically. He sat on the bed and put his head in his hands. This was his life now, sharing space with a beautiful alien woman who was as trapped as he was. For the first week, they barely spoke. They established a routine by necessity. Nari used the bathroom in the early morning while Hyunwoo slept. He used it later. They ate at different times. When they passed in the apartment, they nodded politely and moved on. But Unity Station had expectations. They received a schedule of mandatory diplomatic functions. As a newly married couple representing human Valerian unity, their presence was required at dinners, receptions, and cultural events. They had to appear together, smile, and pretend everything was wonderful. The first dinner was torture. They sat at a table with aliens from a dozen species, all making polite conversation. Hyunwoo's translator implant worked overtime to keep up. Everyone asked about their marriage, their adjustment, their future plans. They gave vague, pleasant answers that meant nothing. Nari played her part perfectly. She smiled, nodded, spoke gracefully about cultural exchange. Her bioluminescent skin seemed to glow brighter in the dining light. Drawing eyes from across the room, Hyunwoo noticed male aliens of various species watching her, and something uncomfortable twisted in his stomach. Jealousy, that was ridiculous. He had no claim on her beyond a legal document. After the dinner, they walked back to their apartment in silence. Once inside, Nari went straight to her room and closed the door. The next morning, Hyunwoo woke to strange sounds from the kitchen. Curious, he investigated and found Nari surrounded by smoke and what looked like burned food. She was waving a cloth to clear the air, looking frustrated. What happened? He asked. I tried to make human breakfast. She gestured at the mess. I read about eggs and toast. It seemed simple. Despite everything, Hyunwoo felt his mouth twitch. You've never cooked human food before? Valerians don't cook most of our food. We eat it raw or fermented. She looked at the burned pan. This is harder than the instructions suggested. Here. Hyunwoo moved past her, opened a window to let out the smoke. I'll show you. He prepared breakfast properly while she watched. Scrambled eggs, toast, simple but edible. When he finished, he plated it and handed her one. Try it. Nari took a careful bite. Her eyes shifted from violet to a lighter purple. It's good. Different but good. Temperature is important. You had the heat too high. I see. She ate another bite. Thank you for showing me. It was the first real conversation they'd had since the ceremony. Something small, but it felt significant. That evening, Hyunwoo noticed Nari worked late in her room. Light showed under her door past midnight. The next night, the same thing. On the third night, he knocked. Yes? Her voice was tired. Can I come in? Pause. All right. He opened the door. Her room was covered in data pads and holographic displays showing plant structures. She sat at her desk, silver hair pulled back, eyes focused on her work. What is this? He asked. My research. I'm a xenobotanist. I study how plants from different worlds adapt to new environments. She gestured at the displays. I was developing hybrid crops before all this. Hyunwoo moved closer, studying the data. His terraforming work involved similar concepts. Cross-pollination between species. More than that. Genetic integration. Creating plants that take the best traits from multiple worlds. She looked up at him. Why do you ask? I'm a terraforming engineer. Making dead planets livable requires understanding how Earth plants can adapt to alien soil. He pointed at one of her displays. This integration pattern. Have you tried increasing the nitrogen balance? Nari blinked. Her eyes shifted to a greenish violet he hadn't seen before. I hadn't considered that approach. Her fingers moved over the controls, adjusting the simulation. That might work. They spent the next hour discussing the research. Hyunwoo forgot to be awkward. Nari forgot to be distant. They were just two scientists excited about a problem. When he finally left her room, it was past 2 in the morning. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about how her eyes had lit up when she talked about her plants. How intelligent she clearly was. How for an hour he'd forgotten she was an alien he'd been forced to marry. The days began to shift. They still kept mostly separate lives, but small interactions accumulated. Nari started joining him for breakfast sometimes. He showed her how to use Earth cooking equipment. She taught him about Valerian sleep patterns, why she only needed 3 hours compared to his 8. Our species evolved on a planet with short nights, she explained. We developed efficient sleep. 3 hours gives us full rest. That must be useful. It means I'm awake when you're sleeping, though. I try to be quiet. You don't have to hide in your room. This is your home, too. She looked at him strangely. You're kinder than I expected. You tried to cook me breakfast. That counts for something. Another almost laugh. He was starting to like that sound. They attended more diplomatic functions. Each one was tedious, but they developed a system. When one was cornered by a particularly boring ambassador, the other would invent a reason to rescue them. They shared subtle looks across crowded rooms, silent communication about who needed saving. One night, a Krillian ambassador made dismissive comments about human intelligence within Nari's hearing. She went very still, her skin's glow intensifying. Ambassador, she said, her voice cold. My husband is a terraforming engineer with advanced degrees in planetary systems and atmospheric chemistry. He was selected for this program precisely because of his exceptional intelligence. Perhaps before insulting an entire species, you should meet more than one of them. The table went quiet. The Krillian ambassador looked shocked. Hyunwoo stared at Nari, completely surprised. She defended him fiercely, without hesitation. Later, walking home, he said, You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. What he said was wrong. Still, thank you. She glanced at him. You would have done the same for me, would he? Hyunwoo realized that yes, he would have. Somewhere in the past weeks, something had changed. She wasn't just the alien he'd been forced to marry. She was Nari, a person, someone he was beginning to care about. Back at the apartment, they stood in the main room, both hesitant to return to their separate spaces. Your research, Hyunwoo said. If you wanted, we could work on it together. My terraforming knowledge and your botanical expertise might complement each other. Nari's eyes shifted to that greenish-violet again. I'd like that. Tomorrow, then? Tomorrow, she smiled. It was small, but it was real. Hyunwoo went to bed that night feeling something he hadn't felt since boarding the transport ship weeks ago. He felt hope. Maybe this forced marriage didn't have to be a prison. Maybe it could become something else. Something neither of them expected. He wasn't ready to call it friendship yet, but it was definitely not enemies anymore. That was a start. Working together changed everything. Hyunwoo and Nari set up their research in the apartment's main room, spreading data pads and holographic displays across every surface. They combined his terraforming models with her botanical genetics, searching for ways to make crops grow on harsh alien worlds. The work was fascinating. Nari understood plant biology at a level Hyunwoo could barely comprehend. She could look at a genetic sequence and see patterns he'd miss. He contributed his knowledge of soil chemistry, atmospheric conditions, and the practical challenges of making hostile planets habitable. What if we use this earthgrass species as a foundation? Nari suggested during one late session. It's incredibly hardy. Combine it with this Valerian nitrogen fixer? Hyunwoo pulled up another display. The roots could prepare the soil for other crops. Exactly. Her eyes had shifted to that greenish-violet they became when she was excited. Hyunwoo had learned to read her colors now. Violet was neutral or nervous. Blue meant sad or troubled. Green tones meant happy or interested. Amber meant, well, he hadn't figured out amber yet. They worked past midnight most nights. Hyunwoo would make coffee. Nari would eat her fermented Valerian snacks that smelled terrible, but she claimed were delicious. They'd argue over details, laugh at mistakes, celebrate small victories. You're good at this, Nari said one night. The other humans I've met at diplomatic functions are either politicians or military. You're different. Scientists are different everywhere, Hyunwoo replied. We care more about solving problems than playing games. Is that why you never married before? Too busy solving problems? The question was personal, more personal than they'd gotten, but the late hour and comfortable atmosphere made it feel natural. Partly, he admitted. Also, after my parents died, I was afraid. Afraid to let anyone close and lose them too. Nari was quiet for a moment. I understand that. When I was young, my sister died in an accident. I threw myself into my work afterward. Safer to love plants than people. They shared a look of mutual understanding, both running from pain, both hiding in their research. What about your partner? Hyunwoo asked carefully. The one on your homeworld. Daehyun. She said the name softly. He was safe too, I think. We cared for each other, but never deeply. When I was taken for this marriage, he seemed almost relieved. Like he'd been waiting for an excuse to leave. I'm sorry. Don't be. It taught me something. Her eyes met his. I spent so long protecting myself that I forgot how to really feel anything. Hyunwoo didn't know what to say to that. The moment stretched between them heavy with unspoken things. The datapad in front of Nari beeped, breaking the tension. She looked down, frowned. That's strange. What? I was accessing Unity Station's agricultural database for reference data. But look at these numbers, she showed him the screen. The food production units are running at 60% efficiency. That should be enough, but the distribution numbers don't match. Hyunwoo leaned closer. His engineering mind immediately spotted the discrepancy. Someone's diverting resources. Or the units are being sabotaged. Why would anyone do that? I don't know. Can you access more detailed logs? Nari's fingers flew over the controls. More data appeared and the pattern became clear. Over the past 6 months, production had slowly declined while demand stayed constant. Someone was definitely interfering. This is serious, Hyunwoo said. Unity Station feeds millions. If the agricultural system fails, we should report it. To who? We don't know who's responsible or why. They looked at each other, and Hyunwoo saw his own concern reflected in Nari's face. This was bigger than their research. This was dangerous. Over the next days, they investigated quietly. Hyunwoo used his Earth credentials to access maintenance records. Nari used her diplomatic connections to question agricultural workers. The more they found, the worse it looked. Someone was definitely sabotaging the food production. The pattern was too consistent to be accidental. Whoever did it was skilled, hiding their tracks in layers of fake data and misdirection. Look at the timing, Nari said, showing him a timeline. The sabotage started right after the arranged marriage program began. Hyunwoo felt cold. You think they're connected? I think someone wants the marriages to fail. Create food shortages. Blame the chaos on the new program. Turn species against each other. It made horrible sense. The arranged marriages were controversial. Many species opposed them. If the program led to problems, it would be canceled. The diplomatic bonds it created would break. We need to find proof, Hyunwoo said. Concrete evidence. They dove deeper into the investigation, often working through the night. It felt like their research projects, except the stakes were much higher. They developed theories, tested them, discarded failures, and followed promising leads. One evening, Hyunwoo came back to the apartment and found it ransacked. Furniture overturned, datapads smashed, their research scattered everywhere, and Nari was gone. Panic hit him like a physical force. Nari! He searched every room. Not there. He checked his communicator. No messages. He ran into the hallway, looking both ways, empty. Then he heard sounds from a service corridor. Thuds and a cry that might have been Nari. He ran toward it without thinking. In the corridor, 3 figures in dark clothing had Nari cornered. She was fighting back, and Hyunwoo was shocked by her strength. She moved with incredible speed, her kicks and strikes forcing them back. But 3 against 1 were bad odds. Get away from her, Hyunwoo shouted. He grabbed a maintenance tool from the wall and swung it at the nearest attacker. It connected with a satisfying thud. The attacker stumbled. Nari used the distraction to disable another with a strike to their neck. The third attacker pulled a weapon, something that crackled with energy. Hyunwoo threw himself at Nari, pushing her aside as the energy blast scorched the wall where she'd been standing. They scrambled up together and ran. Behind them, the attackers gave chase. Hyunwoo's heart pounded. The corridors blurred together. Nari grabbed his hand and pulled him down a side passage he'd never have noticed. They ran deeper into the station's maintenance levels. The air grew hot and smelled like metal. Machinery hummed around them. Finally, Nari pulled him into a small storage space and sealed the door. They sat in the dark, breathing hard. Hyunwoo's hand still held hers. He realized he was shaking. "Are you hurt?" she asked. "No. You?" "No, they came to the apartment. I was alone. They wanted our research data. They know we found something. We can't go back, not until we understand what's happening." They sat in silence. Hyunwoo became aware of how close they were in the small space. How Nari's skin glowed softly in the darkness, providing the only light. How her hand felt in his, warm and real. "You came for me," she said softly. "Of course I did. You could have run, let them take me. You'd be safe. Don't be stupid." His voice was rough. "I wasn't leaving you." In the faint glow of her bioluminescence, he saw her eyes shift color. Not violet, not green. Amber, deep, warm amber like sunset. "Hyunwoo," she whispered. "That color means what?" "Among my people, amber means attraction, affection. I've been trying to hide it for weeks." His heart stopped, then started beating too fast. "Nari, I know we didn't choose this. I know it's complicated, but somewhere between the forced marriage and now I started to care about you." Really care? Hyunwoo thought about the past weeks. How easy it had become to be around her. How he looked forward to their late-night research sessions. How seeing her defend him had made his chest feel warm. How the panic when she was missing had been genuine and terrifying. "I care about you too," he admitted. "I've been trying not to. This was supposed to be just a legal arrangement. But you're brilliant and kind, and you tried to cook me breakfast even though you had no idea how." She laughed. A real laugh, and it was the most beautiful sound he'd ever heard. They sat in that dark storage space, still holding hands while danger hunted them somewhere above. And despite everything, Hyunwoo felt something he hadn't expected. He felt happy. Then Nari leaned forward and kissed him. It was soft and tentative, a question more than a statement. Hyunwoo answered by kissing her back. Her lips were warm and her skin's glow brightened, bathing them both in silver light. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. "We're in terrible danger," Nari said. "I know. My people are trying to kill us. I know, Mom, but right now, I'm happy." "Me too." They sat together in the darkness, planning their next move, knowing their forced marriage had become something real and chosen. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. They couldn't stay in the storage space forever. Hyunwoo's communicator eventually picked up a signal, and he risked sending a message to Tae-yang, his friend who worked in Union security. The reply came an hour later with coordinates for a meeting point. "Can we trust him?" Nari asked. "Yes, we grew up together. He's one of the few people in the Union I'd bet my life on. We are betting our lives, fair point." But they had no other options. They made their way carefully through maintenance corridors to a quiet section of the station's commercial district. Tae-yang waited in a small cafe wearing civilian clothes. He looked worried. "What happened to you?" he asked when he saw them. "You look terrible." Hyunwoo realized they were both dirty and disheveled from hiding in the storage space. "We were attacked." Tae-yang's expression went serious. "Sit, tell me everything." They explained their discovery about the food production sabotage, the investigation they'd conducted, the attack on their apartment, and the chase through the corridors. Tae-yang listened without interrupting, his security training showing in how he absorbed information. "This is bigger than I thought," he said finally. "I've heard rumors about problems with the arranged marriage program. Some species are very unhappy about it. But sabotage, attacks, that's organized opposition. Can you investigate officially?" Nari asked. "I can try. But if there's a conspiracy, I don't know who's involved. Reporting it through normal channels might just warn the people responsible." "So what do we do?" Hyunwoo asked. Tae-yang thought for a moment. "We need proof. Solid evidence that would hold up in Union Court. Then we can take it to the High Council directly." "How do we get that proof?" "The way you were going, investigation. But you'll need protection." He pulled out 2 small devices. "Emergency communicators. Military grade. If you're in danger, activate these and my team will come running." Hyunwoo took the devices, grateful. "Thank you. Be careful. If someone's willing to attack you in your own home, they're desperate." Tae-yang looked between them. "Also, when did you two start holding hands?" Hyunwoo realized Nari's hand was indeed in his. They'd been holding hands without thinking about it. Nari's bioluminescence shifted to a faint amber glow. "Things have changed," Hyunwoo said simply. Tae-yang smiled. "Good, I'm happy for you. Now let's make sure you both survive long enough to enjoy it." They left the cafe separately for security. Yang arranged a safe apartment for them in a different section of the station. It was smaller than their official quarters, but more secure. Over the next days, they continued investigating with Yang's help. Nari used her scientific knowledge to track genetic markers on evidence from the attacks. Someone had been careless and she found traces of biological material. The genetic pattern matches Krillian physiology, she announced. Krillians? Hyunwoo pulled up what he knew about the species. They're one of the founding members of the Union. Why would they oppose the marriage program? They've lost power since Earth joined, Yang said over a secure communication channel. Earth brought new technology and new alliances. Some Krillian factions want their old influence back. So they sabotage the marriages, create chaos, and Earth gets blamed. Nari's eyes shifted to an angry blue. People could starve because of their politics. They gathered more evidence over the following week. Financial records showing money moving to saboteurs, communication logs with coded messages, the biological evidence from the attacks. Slowly a picture emerged of a conspiracy led by Ambassador Vector, a high-ranking Krillian diplomat. We need to confront him, Hyunwoo said. That's dangerous, Yang warned. If he knows we have evidence, he might escalate. We need a confession, Nari said. The evidence is good, but not conclusive. A recording of Vector admitting his involvement would be undeniable. How do we get that? Hyunwoo asked. Nari looked determined. I meet with him. Wear a hidden recorder. Make him think I want to negotiate. Absolutely not, Hyunwoo said immediately. It's too dangerous and I'm a diplomat. I was trained for this kind of negotiation. He'll expect me to try to protect my political interests. And when he realizes it's a trap, that's why I'll have backup. She looked at Taeyang's image on the screen. Can you position security nearby? Yes, but Nari, if something goes wrong, I know the risks. Her expression was steady. But we need this confession. How many other couples like us are being targeted? How many people will suffer if the conspiracy continues? Hyunwoo wanted to argue more, but he could see the determination in her eyes. She wasn't going to back down. And she was right. They needed proof that couldn't be questioned. I'll be monitoring everything, Taeyang promised. First sign of trouble, we move in. They spent the next day preparing. Taeyang provided a recording device so small it was nearly invisible. They planned the meeting location, escape routes, emergency protocols. Hyunwoo felt sick with worry the entire time. The night before the meeting, he couldn't sleep. He found Nari sitting by the window looking out at the station's lights. Are you afraid? He asked. Yes, she admitted, but also angry. Vector and his people are willing to hurt innocents for power. That makes me furious. Hyunwoo sat beside her. I don't want you to do this, I know. But it's necessary. Promise me you'll be careful. I promise. She took his hand. Hyunwoo, if something does go wrong, don't say that, I need to say it. If something happens, I want you to know that these past weeks with you have been the best of my life. This forced marriage became the most real thing I've ever had. Hyunwoo pulled her close, holding her tight. Nothing will happen. Taeyang will keep you safe, and when this is over, we'll go back to our research. We'll develop those hybrid crops. We'll prove that our marriage works because we're better together. Promise? I promise. They held each other until morning came. The meeting was set for a neutral location, a conference room in the diplomatic sector. Nari went in wearing formal robes, the recording device hidden in her jewelry. Hyunwoo and Taeyang watched from a monitoring station nearby, cameras giving them a view of the room. Vector arrived with 2 guards. He was a large Krillian, reptilian features arranged in what might have been a smile. Lady Nari, this meeting is unexpected. I've learned some things, Ambassador, Nari said calmly. Things about food production, about sabotage, about arranged marriages being targeted. Vector's expression didn't change. Interesting. Why tell me? Because I believe we can reach an arrangement. My marriage to Hyunwoo is politically valuable, but it could be even more valuable if certain problems were resolved. You want to negotiate. I want to understand the situation, and perhaps help resolve it in a way that benefits everyone. Hyunwoo watched tensely. Nari was playing her role perfectly, suggesting cooperation without revealing what she knew. Vector studied her for a long moment. Then he waved his guards back. Very well. Let's speak openly. The arranged marriage program is a mistake. It gives too much power to newcomer species like humans. Earth has been in the Union for barely 50 years, yet they're given equal status to founding members? And the sabotage? Nari pressed, a necessary measure. Create problems, blame them on failed marriages, and the program ends. Earth's influence shrinks. Natural order is restored. You're willing to cause food shortages? People could starve. A small sacrifice for stability. Vectar's tone was cold. The Union thrived for 1,000 years before Earth arrived. Twill thrive again after Earth's influence is eliminated. And the attacks on couples like myself and Hyunwoo? Unfortunate but necessary. Some of you proved too resilient. You needed to be discouraged from interfering. Nari's bioluminescence flared bright with anger. You admit it. All of it. Vectar's eyes narrowed. This conversation is private, Lady Nari. Your word against mine means nothing. Not private, Nari said. She tapped her jewelry and the recording device beeped. Everything you said was transmitted in real time to Union Security and the High Council. Vectar's expression turned to rage. You tricked me. I exposed you, Nari corrected. And now it's over. Vectar lunged at her, but the doors burst open. Taeyang and his security team rushed in, weapons drawn. The Krillian guards were quickly subdued. Vectar was surrounded. Ambassador Vectar, you're under arrest for conspiracy, sabotage, and attempted murder, Taeyang announced. Hyunwoo ran into the room and went straight to Nari. Are you okay? I'm fine. But she was shaking. He held her as security took Vectar away. You were amazing, he said. I was terrified. You were brave. There's a difference. The confession spread through Unity Station within hours. The conspiracy was exposed. Other officials involved in the plot were arrested. The evidence Hyunwoo and Nari had gathered, combined with Vectar's recorded admission, was overwhelming. They were summoned to the High Council to give testimony. Standing before the assembled representatives of dozens of species, Hyunwoo felt small. But Nari stood beside him, her hand in his, and that made all the difference. They told their story. The forced marriage, the investigation, the attacks, their decision to stop the conspiracy together. Your marriage was arranged for political purposes, the council leader said. Does it remain valid to you both? Hyunwoo looked at Nari. She looked back at him. Her eyes were that warm amber color. When we first met, we were both angry, Hyunwoo said. We felt like prisoners. But somewhere between then and now, we made a choice. We chose each other. The reforms happened quickly. Within days, the Galactic Union announced changes to the marriage program. No more forced selection. No more lottery systems. Couples already married could choose to stay together or separate with no penalties. It was a victory that Hyunwoo and Nari had helped create, but not everyone was happy. The conspiracy had supporters beyond those arrested. Hyunwoo learned this when he received a threatening message on his private communicator. The Krillian ambassador was weak. We are not. Your alien bride will pay for his mistakes. He showed it to Taeyang immediately. This is serious. They're specifically threatening Nari. I'll increase security around both of you, Taeyang promised. But Hyunwoo saw the concern in his friend's eyes. Unity Station was massive. They couldn't watch everywhere. He warned Nari that evening. She took it seriously but refused to hide. We can't live in fear. That's what they want. I know. But be careful, please. I'm always careful, but careful wasn't enough. 2 days later, Hyunwoo returned to their apartment to find the door open and signs of struggle inside. Nari was gone. A message waited on his communicator. Krillian Sector, Level 42, Waste Processing. Come alone or she dies. His hands shook as he contacted Taeyang. They took her. I'm coming now. Don't go alone. They said they'd kill her. They'll kill you both anyway. Wait for backup. Hyunwoo wanted to listen. But every minute was a minute Nari was in danger. He grabbed tools from their research equipment. A cutting laser, an EMP device they'd been using for experiments. Not weapons exactly, but better than nothing. He headed toward the Krillian sector. Taeyang would track his communicator and follow. But Hyunwoo couldn't wait. Not when Nari was in danger. Level 42 was industrial, all machines and noise. The waste processing area smelled terrible and was poorly lit. Perfect place for a trap. Hyunwoo moved carefully, trying to remember his military training from Earth's mandatory service years ago. He found them in a large processing chamber. Nari was restrained in some kind of energy field, her silver skin dim without its usual glow. 3 Krillians stood guard, and a 4th was clearly the leader. Not Vectar, but someone who looked similar. The human comes to save his alien bride, the leader mocked. How sentimental. Let her go, Hyunwoo demanded, or what? You'll fight us? You're alone and unarmed. Not completely unarmed, Hyunwoo raised the cutting laser. And not as weak as you think humans are. The leader laughed. Your species has been in space for barely a century. We've been conquering worlds for thousands of years. Conquering, that's the difference. Hyunwoo moved slowly to the side, looking for angles. Humans don't conquer. We adapt, we solve problems. And right now, my problem is you. One of the guards moved toward him. Hyunwoo triggered the EMP device. It was meant for electronics, but he'd modified it during his journey here, increasing its power. The blast knocked the guard backward and disrupted the energy field holding Nari. She dropped to the ground and immediately attacked the nearest guard. Hyunwoo had seen her fight before, but this was different. She was angry now, and Valerians were stronger than they looked. Her strikes were precise and devastating. Hyunwoo engaged the leader with his cutting laser, using it to keep the Krillian at a distance. The fight was desperate and chaotic. He wasn't trained for this. He was an engineer who liked solving equations. Not fighting aliens, but he was fighting for Nari. That made all the difference. The leader pulled a weapon, something that crackled with energy like the one that had nearly killed them before. Hyunwoo dove aside as the blast scorched the wall. He rolled, came up with a metal pipe from the floor, and threw it. His aim was good. It hit the Krillian's arm and the weapon clattered away. Nari had disabled 2 guards already. She moved to help Hyunwoo, but the leader grabbed her, using her as a shield. A blade appeared at her throat. Stop, the leader commanded. Or she dies. Hyunwoo froze. His mind raced through options. None were good. Drop your weapon, the Krillian ordered. Hyunwoo set down the cutting laser. Don't hurt her. Why do you care so much? She's just an alien. Your marriage was forced. You could walk away any time. She's not just an alien. She's Nari. She's brilliant and brave and kind. She tried to cook me breakfast even though she had no idea how. Hyunwoo met Nari's eyes. She's my wife. Not because some government said so. Because I choose her, the leader sneered. How touching. It won't save you. Then the doors burst open. Tae-yang and his security team stormed in, weapons ready. Drop your weapon, now! The Krillian hesitated, blade still at Nari's throat. Hyunwoo saw calculations behind his eyes, weighing options. It's over, Tae-yang said. Your allies are arrested. The conspiracy is finished. Let her go and you'll face trial. Kill her and you'll face execution. The blade trembled. Then slowly, the Krillian lowered it and released Nari. She stumbled forward and Hyunwoo caught her. Security arrested the Krillians. Tae-yang approached Hyunwoo and Nari, looking concerned. Are you both all right? Yes, Nari said, though she was shaking. Thanks to Hyunwoo. You came alone, Tae-yang said to Hyunwoo. That was stupid. I couldn't wait. Not for her. Tae-yang sighed but smiled. Love makes us do stupid things. At least you're both safe. They were taken to the medical bay for examination. Nari had bruises but nothing serious. Hyunwoo had pulled a muscle diving away from the energy blast. The doctors treated them and ordered rest. In the recovery room, they sat together on a medical bed. Holding hands. You called me your wife, Nari said softly. You are my wife. No. I mean, you called me that when you had a choice. When you could have just said I was forced on you. You chose to claim me. Of course I did. Nari, He paused, trying to find words. I love you. I know it's fast. I know we've only known each other a few months. But it's true. Her bioluminescence flared bright amber, brighter than he'd ever seen. I love you too. I think I have for weeks, but I was afraid to say it. They kissed there in the medical bay. Gentle and careful of their injuries, but filled with emotion. The next day, they were summoned to the High Council again. This time was different. The leader spoke with respect in his voice. Hyunwoo of Earth and Nari of Valaria, you have proven that unions between species can be strong and genuine. You've exposed corruption and risked your lives for justice. The union owes you gratitude. We only did what was right, Hyunwoo said. Nevertheless, you've shown others that cross-species relationships can work. Because of you, the arranged marriage program has been reformed into a voluntary cultural exchange program. Those who wish to form bonds across species can do so by choice with full support. That's all we wanted, Nari said. Choice. You'll be offered honors and positions if you wish them. Or you may continue your research. The choice is yours. Hyunwoo looked at Nari. She looked back. They didn't need to discuss it. We'd like to continue our research, Hyunwoo said. We're developing hybrid crops that could help feed colonies throughout the Union. That feels more important than honors. The council leader nodded. Then you shall have funding and facilities. Where would you like to work? There's a terraforming candidate planet, Nari said. Nova Terra. It's harsh but has potential. We'd like to establish a research station there. It will be done. They left the council chamber hand in hand, ready to start their real life together. The forced marriage was over. What they had now was something they chose. Something real. That evening, they stood in their apartment packing for Nova Terra. Hyunwoo watched Nari carefully wrap her plant specimens and felt overwhelming gratitude. He'd been so angry when selected for the marriage program. He'd thought his life was ending. Instead, it had begun. What are you thinking? Nari asked, noticing his expression. That I'm the luckiest person in the galaxy. She smiled, amber light glowing from her skin. We both are. They finished packing together, planning their future, knowing that whatever challenges came next, they'd face them side by side. 3 months later, Nova Terra was beginning to look like home. The research facility Hyunwoo and Nari had built was small but efficient. One main building held their laboratories, living quarters, and storage. Outside, test fields stretched across what had once been barren soil. Hyunwoo stood in the field, checking soil samples while the planet's twin suns beat down on him. The heat was intense, but he was getting used to it. Nova Terra would never be comfortable, but it had potential. They'd proven that. Hyunwoo! Nari called from the lab entrance. Come see this. He jogged over, curious. Inside, Nari stood over a growth chamber where small green shoots pushed through the soil. The hybrid plants they'd designed, combining Earth and Valerian genetics, were growing in Nova Terra's harsh environment. They're thriving, she said, her excitement obvious in both her voice and her amber glowing skin. The nitrogen fixation is working better than predicted. Within 6 months, this soil could support standard crops. Hyunwoo examined the plants carefully. She was right. The results were better than their best projections. We did it. We did it, she agreed, smiling. They'd worked hard for these results. Building the facility, preparing the soil, running endless tests. They'd also trained a small team of both humans and Valerians to help with the research. Proving that the species could work together wasn't just about marriage anymore. It was about cooperation at every level, the communicator chimed. Hyunwoo answered to find his sister Jiwon's face on the screen, calling from Earth. Appa, she said, using the Korean word for older brother. How's the farming life? We're scientists, not farmers, he corrected with a smile. Same thing. Growing plants, right? She grinned. I have news. I got accepted to the medical program with full marks, and I'm doing my thesis on cross-species medicine. That's wonderful. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you too. What you and Nari did, exposing the conspiracy, changing the marriage laws. You're heroes to a lot of people. She paused. Is she there? Can I say hello? Nari joined him on screen. Hello, Jiwon. Hi, Ani. Jiwon used the term for older sister, making Nari smile. I'm coming to visit next month. Mom said I should check on you both, make sure you're eating properly. I cook now, Nari said, mostly without burning things. They all laughed. Jiwon had visited once already and gotten along wonderfully with Nari. Watching them together, Hyunwoo felt grateful that his wife and sister were becoming friends. After the call ended, Hyunwoo and Nari returned to work. Their team had arrived for the day. 2 humans and 2 Valerians, young scientists eager to learn. They reviewed the morning's data together, discussing next steps. We should expand the test field, suggested Bora, one of the human researchers. These results mean we could start growing food within a year. Agreed, said June, the Valerian botanist. His bioluminescence shifted thoughtfully. But we should also document everything carefully. Other terraforming projects will want to replicate our methods. It was good working with a mixed team. Each species brought different perspectives and skills. Humans were good at practical engineering and adaptation. Valerians excelled at biological sciences and long-term planning. Together, they accomplished more than either could alone. Later that evening, Hyunwoo and Nari sat on the facility's roof, watching Nova Terra's twin suns set. This had become their routine, taking time each day to simply be together. I received a message today, Nari said. From my family on Valeria. Good news? They want us to visit. My father says he needs to meet the human who married his daughter properly. Hyunwoo felt nervous. Will he approve? He already does. My mother sends her love and says to bring you home soon. Nari leaned against him, They were angry at first when I was forced into the marriage. But when they learned what we did, how we fought together, they changed their minds. They want to thank you for protecting me. You protected me just as much. That's what partners do. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn shades of orange and purple. Novaterra wasn't beautiful by Earth standards, but it had its own harsh charm. Do you ever regret it? Hyunwoo asked suddenly. Being forced to marry me? Nari turned to look at him, surprised. Why would you ask that? Because you had someone else. Someone you cared about. I took you away from your life. The marriage program took me away. You gave me a new life, she took his hand. Daehyun and I, we were comfortable together but never truly connected. With you, everything is different. We challenge each other, support each other. We're better together than apart. I feel the same way. Before you, I lived for my work. That was enough. But now, he struggled for words. Now you live for more, she finished. Yes, for you, for us. For the future we're building. Her bioluminescence glowed warm amber in the fading light. I want to do something. A ceremony of our own? What do you mean? The marriage on Unity Station was legal but empty. Just signing papers. I want something real. Something that means we choose each other. Hyunwoo understood. A renewal of vows? Something like that. Combining human and Valerian traditions, making it ours. They planned it over the next week. Nothing elaborate, just a simple ceremony for themselves and the small community they'd built on Novaterra. Taeyang agreed to come from Unity Station to witness it. Jiwon would attend via video link from Earth. The day of the ceremony, they decorated the research facility with both earth flowers and Valerian light plants that glowed softly. Their team helped prepare food, mixing both cultures' dishes. It was small and intimate, exactly what they wanted. Hyunwoo wore traditional Korean hanbok, which Jiwon had sent. Nari wore Valerian ceremonial robes in silver and white, her hair flowing free. They stood together under Novaterra's twin suns while Taeyang officiated. This isn't a legal marriage, Taeyang said. That already exists. This is a confirmation, a choice. Hyunwoo and Nari were brought together by laws they didn't agree to. Today they choose each other freely. Hyunwoo spoke first, his voice steady despite his emotions. Nari, when we met, I was angry and scared. I thought my life was ending. Instead, I found you. You're the smartest, bravest, most beautiful person I've ever known. You make me better. You make me want to be better. I choose you today and always. Nari's eyes shimmered with emotion, shifting through colors. Hyunwoo, you saw past what I was and learned who I am. You protected me when I was in danger. You work beside me as an equal partner. You make me laugh even when things are hard. I choose you freely and completely. My heart is yours. They exchanged gifts. Hyunwoo gave Nari a bracelet made from Novaterra's minerals, symbolizing their new home. She gave him a living plant, a hybrid of Earth and Valerian species they'd created together, symbolizing how their different backgrounds had merged into something new. When they kissed, their small audience cheered. Even Jiwon's voice came through the speakers celebrating from Earth. The celebration afterward was joyful. They ate, talked, shared stories. The humans and Valerians on their team mixed freely, barriers between species dissolving in the warmth of friendship. Later, alone in their quarters, Hyunwoo and Nari talked about the future. There's something we should discuss, Nari said carefully. Children. Hyunwoo had thought about this too. Is it possible? Between our species? With medical assistance, yes. The Union has developed procedures for cross-species conception. It's complex but possible. She looked uncertain. But only if you want to. Do you want to? Eventually, yes. Not immediately. We have so much work still to do here. But someday I'd like to have children with you. A family that represents both our worlds. Hyunwoo pulled her close. Someday sounds perfect. They talked late into the night about possibilities. Children someday. More research stations on other planets. Training programs to teach their methods to others. Dreams that felt real and achievable because they'd faced them together. Over the following months, their work on Novaterra attracted attention. Other scientists came to study their methods. News networks interviewed them about cross-species cooperation. They became minor celebrities, symbols of what unity could achieve. But the attention didn't change them. They still worked in the fields, testing soil and checking plants. They still ate dinner together every evening. They still sat on the roof and watched the sun set. One day, a message came from the Galactic Union. Multiple planets wanted to establish similar programs. Hyunwoo and Nari were offered positions as directors of a new terraforming and unity initiative, with the authority to create research stations throughout Union space. "It's a huge opportunity," Nari said. "It would mean less hands-on research," Hyunwoo pointed out. "More administration." They discussed it for days, weighing options. Finally, they made a decision together. As they made all important decisions now, they accepted, but with conditions. They'd continue working directly at Novaterra while training others to lead new stations. They wouldn't become bureaucrats stuck in offices. They'd remain scientists first, administrators second. The Union agreed. A year after arriving on Novaterra, Hyunwoo stood in a field that had been barren and was now green with growing crops. The hybrid plants had exceeded all expectations. Food that could grow on harsh worlds, feeding colonies that had struggled before.